Chosen one, stop what you are doing right now and lock your eyes on this message. That restless feeling you have been carrying, the one that has made it impossible to sit still, impossible to focus, impossible to sleep, that is not anxiety. That is a signal. The enemy has been working overtime against you this week for one reason and one reason only. He knows that heaven just dispatched 2 angels on your behalf. He knows what is in motion, and he is terrified that you are about to realize it too. It all shifts in the next 17 minutes. The confusion, the silence, the feeling of being forgotten, it ends here. But you need to understand something before we go any further. This is not happening because you have your life perfectly together. This is happening because of what you chose to do in a moment when nobody was watching. Think back to that moment this week when you could have reacted, but you did not. When you could have spoken up in anger, but you swallowed it. When you could have walked out and you stayed. You looked at that moment like it was weakness, like you were losing. But heaven recorded that moment as an act of obedience, and that act of obedience is what triggered the dispatch. You did not find this message by scrolling. The algorithm did not bring you here. God did. This is a divine appointment that was written before the foundations of the earth were laid. You are standing at a threshold right now, and the next 17 minutes are going to change the way you see everything that has happened to you this week. Stay until the final second, because in the next few minutes, I am going to show you why 2 angels were specifically assigned to your situation and what that means for what you are walking through right now. I am going to hand you the spiritual decree that cancels every assignment the enemy has filed against your name. And at the end, we are going to seal this rescue with a declaration that closes the door on that chapter permanently. Do not click away. Your future self is on the other side of this message, and if you leave before the verdict is read, you may walk back into the very prison God just sent angels to pull you out of. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. The atmosphere has not just been heavy, it has been suffocating. Like the weight is not coming from outside, but from somewhere deep inside you that you cannot reach. Maybe you have been sitting in silence more than usual this week, staring at walls, staring at your phone, waiting for something to change, but not knowing what to do next. Or maybe you woke up at 3 in the morning and lay there in the dark, completely still, feeling a pressure on your chest that you could not explain and could not shake. Or perhaps you found yourself in the middle of an ordinary moment, washing dishes, driving, standing in a room full of people, and suddenly you felt profoundly alone. Not lonely in the social sense, alone in the deeper sense. Like nobody on earth fully understands the weight you are carrying right now. You feel suspended, caught between the life you have been living and the life you have been promised. And in that suspension, in that strange quiet between those 2 worlds, the enemy has begun whispering a very specific lie into your mind. Listen to your own thoughts for a moment. He is telling you that the reason the breakthrough has not come yet is because of something you did. He is replaying a specific moment. Maybe the moment you pulled back from someone who needed you. Maybe the moment you made a decision you are not sure was right. Maybe the moment you stopped praying as hard as you used to. He is telling you that because of that moment, the angels passed over you. He is telling you that the rescue was real, but it was for someone else, that you disqualified yourself, that the window closed while you were still trying to figure things out. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. Genesis 19:16 says this about the angels sent to rescue Lot. And while he lingered, the men laid hold of his hand, and the hand of his wife, and the hands of his 2 daughters, the Lord being merciful to him, and they brought him forth and set him outside the city. Read that again. While he lingered, while he was slow, while he was hesitating. The angels did not leave. They reached down and took him by the hand. The mercy of God did not wait for Lot to get it together. The mercy of God moved first. The angels did not come because Lot was spiritually perfected. They came because God made a decision about his life, regardless of his delay. That is the promise that silences the lie the enemy has been whispering into your week. You are not disqualified. You are not delayed because of your failure. You are not watching the rescue pass you by. You are Lot standing at the gate. The angels have already arrived. The hand is already extended. The only question is whether you will let them lead you out. The heaviness you feel right now is not the weight of punishment. It is the weight of transition. It is what it feels like when everything that was holding you in the old season is being broken off simultaneously. It feels like loss because something is ending. But what is ending is not your promise. What is ending is your captivity. You thought that moment when you pulled back was the moment you failed God. But let me reframe your reality right now. That was not failure. That was God removing you from something that would have destroyed what He has planned for you. Your hesitation was not weakness. Your silence was not defeat. The angels were not sent in spite of your delays. In many cases, they were sent because of them. Because heaven watched you linger in the hard place long enough, and it was time to reach down and pull you out by the hand. You are not in a cycle, you are in a conclusion. Hit the like button if this message arrived exactly when you needed it. Drop a comment below with the word angels if you believe God sent this to you today. And tell me, what is the one thing you have been lingering over this week? The one door you have not been able to walk away from? The one decision that keeps you suspended? Write it in the comments. We are going to pray over every single one of them. What you just heard wasn't entertainment, it was confirmation. And if you're ready to go deeper, the Chosen One's blueprint will show you exactly why God separated you before birth, why the attacks came so early, and what He's unlocking in this season. You'll also get the full audiobook version and a powerful bonus, activating your prophet mantle, for those carrying a prophetic fire they haven't yet learned to release. The link is waiting in the first pinned comment, but not for long. Now let's go deeper into what is actually happening around you right now, because the story of Lot does not end at the gate. Most people stop there. They hear that the angels extended their hand, and they exhale, believing the crucible is over, that the hard part has passed. They imagine that rescue is synonymous with resolution, that the moment of deliverance means the complete cessation of all struggle. But the divine narrative, like a river, keeps moving, carving new paths through the landscape of human experience. And what comes next in Lot's account is not merely an addendum, but a profound spiritual principle, a challenging truth often overlooked because it requires us to confront something profoundly uncomfortable, something deeply ingrained within ourselves. The air was thick with the stench of impending judgment, a tangible dread hanging over the twin cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. Chaos was the dominant chord, the city a hive of corruption and moral decay. Then into that spiritual miasma stepped two celestial beings, not with trumpets blaring or armies arrayed, but with the quiet, urgent authority of heaven itself. After these radiant messengers pulled Lot and his family from the very jaws of destruction, their hands gripping Lot's with an unyielding strength, after they led him beyond the crumbling walls of the city that was literally about to be consumed by divine fire, they issued a single, unequivocal instruction. One command. A solitary directive, simple in its utterance, but monumental in its implications. Do not look back. This wasn't a casual suggestion, nor was it a mere warning against distraction. It was a fatal mandate. Looking back was not a small indiscretion, it was a deadly act of defiance, a spiritual suicide. Lot's wife, unable to sever the invisible silken threads of attachment to the life she had known, to the comforts and identities she had cultivated within the condemned city, dared to turn her head. In that singular, longing glance, she became a stark, chilling monument, a pillar of salt, crystallizing the very life she could not bring herself to release. She physically escaped the fire, her body carried beyond the immediate inferno, but her soul, her essence, remained inextricably bound to the past. She never reached the promise, never inherited the new land, because she could not stop loving, could not stop longing for what God had already unequivocally condemned, what he had already marked for oblivion. Her turning was not an accident, but the ultimate expression of an unsevered tie, a lament for what was being lost rather than a hunger for what was being gained. It stands as an eternal warning, echoing through the corridors of time. The hand of rescue is extended, but the heart must be willing to let go. And here is where the mirror is held up, where you have to sit with something profoundly honest within your own spirit. There is a city behind you right now, not built of brick and mortar, but forged from experiences, relationships, and identities. There is something in your immediate past, or perhaps a lingering presence from a former season, that God has already clearly, irrevocably condemned, not out of malice, but out of divine foresight and love for your ultimate destiny. This might manifest as a toxic relationship that has long ceased to nourish your spirit, a self-defeating version of yourself that once served a purpose, but now only hinders your growth, a deeply entrenched pattern of thinking that keeps you in cycles of doubt and limitation, or a false identity you've worn for so long it feels like your very skin. And for months, perhaps even for years, the angels of God, whether literal celestial beings or the profound, undeniable promptings of the Holy Spirit, have been pulling you away from it, extending their hand, urging you forward with divine urgency. You've felt the insistent tug, the gentle nudge, the undeniable call to sever ties and move towards a new dawn. Yet, some part of you, a deeply human, often unconscious part, keeps turning your eyes back toward it. It's not necessarily that you genuinely wish to revert to that past, to re-enter the very flames you've escaped. The turning of your head isn't always a conscious desire for regression, but often a symptom of an incomplete conviction. It's because, at a profound, existential level, you have not yet fully, wholeheartedly decided that where you are going, the glorious, expansive future God has ordained for you, is undeniably, overwhelmingly, and irrevocably worth more than what you are leaving behind. You haven't fully weighed the scales and found the future heavier, more precious, more vital. This then becomes the real underlying battle of this week, perhaps even this season. It is not primarily the enemy's relentless attack, though those skirmishes are certainly real and present. Rather, it is the internal wrestling match with your own unresolved attachment to what is already definitively behind you, to the Sodom of your past that God has marked for transformation or demolition. It's the spiritual gravity of yesterday trying to pull you back, even as the divine wind propels you forward. It's the comfortable familiarity of the cage versus the terrifying freedom of the open sky. But here's where the narrative goes even deeper, where the threads of truth begin to intertwine with greater complexity. Because it's a common human tendency to hear a message like this, a message about attachment and unresolved pasts, and immediately begin a new destructive cycle of self-accusation. A voice within will whisper, "I knew it. I knew the problem was me. I'm the one holding myself back. I'm the reason for all this struggle." And the enemy, ever the master of distortion, will seize upon that genuine, God-given seed of conviction, that holy discomfort designed to lead you to truth, and twist it, contort it into the venomous lie of condemnation. Suddenly, the possibility of breakthrough, the hope of a new beginning, feels not just distant, but utterly unreachable, buried beneath layers of self-reproach and spiritual despair. You feel the weight of unworthiness, The crushing burden of failure and the breakthrough you so desperately seek seems further away than ever before, veiled by shame. But let me be explicitly clear. That is not, absolutely not, what heaven is communicating to you right now. Heaven is not condemning your attachment. It is not shaming you for your human struggle. Instead, heaven is lovingly, powerfully illuminating and naming that attachment, bringing it into the light, precisely so that you can consciously, intentionally, and freely release it. There is a profound and infinitely critical difference between divine conviction and demonic condemnation, a chasm as wide as the heavens themselves. Conviction, a gift from the Holy Spirit, is like a compassionate guide who illuminates the pathway ahead, showing you the door that leads to freedom, gently but firmly inviting you to walk through it. It's the loving hand on your back, encouraging you forward. Condemnation, on the other hand, is the oppressive weight that buries you right in front of that very same door, whispering insidious lies that tell you you are utterly undeserving, too flawed, too broken, to ever even reach for the handle, let alone pass through the threshold. It paralyzes you with shame, locking you in a self-made prison of perceived inadequacy. What you're experiencing this week, the deep unrest, the internal wrestling, is the intense yet sacred pressure of divine conviction. That often uncomfortable weight on your chest, that profound sense of spiritual disquiet, is not punishment arriving at your door. It is not a cosmic reckoning for your perceived failures. Instead, it is clarity arriving, a powerful illumination from above, cutting through the fog of confusion and complacency. And clarity, like the immense force of an ocean tide before it sweeps the shore clean, always without exception, feels like pressure before it transforms into the glorious, liberating expanse of freedom. It is the moment before the dam breaks, before the river finds its true course. It is the tension before the release, the necessary friction that precedes the profound shift. Embrace this pressure, for it is the herald of your coming liberation. To truly grasp the depth of what God is orchestrating in your life right now, consider the unsettling yet ultimately redemptive image of a bone that has been broken, then, through accident or insufficient care, healed crookedly. It has knitted itself back together, yes, but at an incorrect angle, creating an enduring misalignment that hinders proper function, perhaps even causing chronic pain. In order for that limb to ever achieve its intended strength and full range of motion, in order for true wholeness to be restored, that bone must, agonizingly, be rebroken. The initial break, the original trauma, was undeniably painful. But the rebreak, the deliberate shattering of a malformed healing, is often more intensely, deeply painful, precisely because it is consciously chosen for a greater good. Yet it is this rebreak, this courageous and precise realignment, that makes you truly whole, that sets the stage for genuine, lasting restoration. What God is doing in you at this very moment is not an act of breaking you down, of diminishing your spirit, or shattering your essence. Quite the contrary. He is expertly, meticulously, breaking off the misalignment that has been present in the architecture of your soul for so long, perhaps for so many years, that you have utterly ceased to notice it. You adapted to the wrong angle, to the subtle tilt that became your normal. You learned to navigate life with a spiritual limp, a habitual compensation, and in an act of profound self-deception, you began to call that limp your personality, your unique way of being. You learned to function, to survive, to even thrive within a crooked place, and eventually you began to identify that contortion as your character, a core part of who you are. The enemy had bent you out of shape in your earliest, most vulnerable seasons, through words, experiences, or neglect, and you had, understandably, made your peace with the bend. But the angels, these divine emissaries, were not dispatched from the throne of heaven to merely affirm your limp, to bless your crookedness, or to make you comfortable in your compromised state. Their mission is far more profound, far more redemptive. They were dispatched with divine precision and unwavering purpose to begin the deeply loving, though often unsettling process of straightening what the enemy maliciously bent out of shape, to unravel the distortions that took root in your earliest, most formative seasons. This is God's divine chiropractic adjustment, a spiritual realignment meant to restore you to your original, unblemished blueprint, to the magnificent posture of strength and purpose He envisioned for you before any trauma ever touched your frame. He is not breaking your spirit. He is breaking off the chains of adaptation that have held your spirit captive, preparing you for a mobility and freedom you've only dreamed of. And what's coming next in the unfolding tapestry of your spiritual journey will likely surprise you, for it defies conventional expectations. This is often the juncture where most people, steeped in stories of instant deliverance and dramatic displays, expect the breakthrough to arrive with a grand fanfare. They envision the heavens parting, a mighty angel appearing with a booming, unmistakable proclamation, a divine scroll unrolled across the sky, and the confirmation to be undeniably loud and overtly miraculous. There's a longing for the thunderclap, the visible pillar of fire, the undeniable sign that leaves no room for doubt. However, that is rarely, if ever, how heaven typically operates in a person's most pivotal, most transformative, and often most vulnerable moments. Consider the mighty prophet Elijah, the man who, by the power of God, called down fire from heaven, consuming the water-soaked sacrifice on Mount Carmel. He was the instrument through whom an entire nation's spiritual reality dramatically shifted in a single breathtaking afternoon, a public spectacle of divine power. Yet, that very same man, just days later, was found utterly depleted, physically and emotionally broken, huddled under a solitary broom tree in the wilderness, his spirit crushed, asking God to let him die. His plea was not for a promotion, not for the next grand assignment, not for more power or prestige. It was a raw, desperate cry to be released from the overwhelming burden of simply living, from the immense weight of his calling. And how did God respond to this titan of faith in his deepest moment of despair? God did not send a thundercloud to shake him, nor a pillar of fire to reignite his zeal. He did not send a legion of angels with triumphant proclamations. Instead, with exquisite tenderness and profound understanding, God sent a single gentle angel who simply touched him and said, "Get up and eat." A simple meal, a moment of rest, a quiet act of sustenance. Why? Because, as the angel explained, the journey is too great for you. Note the precision of that divine utterance, the infinitely crucial distinction. Not, "You are too weak for the journey," implying a failure of character or capacity, but "The journey is too great for you," acknowledging the sheer magnitude, the immense length and spiritual weight of the path ahead. The distinction matters infinitely, for it shifts the focus from your perceived inadequacy to the reality of the extraordinary path you are destined to walk. What God is unequivocally saying to you in this profound season is not, "You are failing, you are falling short, you are not strong enough." No. What God is truly communicating is this: the unique and majestic portion I have assigned to you, the profound destiny I have woven into the fabric of your being, requires a depth of strength, a reservoir of spiritual fortitude that you have not yet fully accessed or cultivated. And I, your loving Father, am not going to send you into that monumental undertaking depleted, unprepared, or running on empty. The stretches of silence you may have been experiencing, the quietude that can often feel like abandonment, is not divine absence. It is, in fact, divine preparation. The profound quiet before the Elijah moment, before the next great manifestation of God's power through your life, is always, almost tragically mistaken for God's abandonment. But it is precisely during these seasons of perceived quietude that the celestial angels are actually ministering to you, fortifying your spirit, preparing you not just for a journey, but for a destiny whose sheer length, profound weight, and glorious magnitude you cannot yet fully comprehend. They are stoking the embers, building your reserves for the marathon, not just the sprint. Stay with me, because what I am about to share next is the part that breaks the cycle permanently. There is a pattern in Scripture that is almost never discussed, and it is this. The people who received the most dramatic divine interventions in their lives were almost never in their finest spiritual moment when the intervention came. Moses was hiding in Midian, having fled a murder charge when the burning bush appeared. Gideon was hiding in a winepress, threshing wheat in secret out of fear, when the angel appeared and called him a mighty man of valor. Mary was an unmarried teenage girl in a conquered nation when heaven chose her to carry the Son of God. Do you see the undeniable, awe-inspiring pattern emerging from these sacred narratives? God does not wait for you to achieve your finest hour, to gather all your credentials, or to polish your resume before He assigns His greatest, most transformative work to your life. He doesn't look for the most qualified. He looks for the one He has already qualified by divine decree. He breaks into your hiding place, shining His light into the very shadows where you believe you are least seen and least capable. He shows up in your metaphorical winepress, right in the midst of your fear and your secret struggles, declaring a truth about you that completely contradicts your present circumstances. He dispatches His powerful angels directly to your exile, to the barren places where you feel forgotten or discarded. Why? Because God does not call the equipped. That is not His methodology. Instead, He equips the called. And this sequence is crucial, for the calling, the divine assignment, always precedes the equipping. This profound truth means that you do not need to be fully ready, perfectly prepared, or completely confident before God moves in your life. What you need, and what He seeks, is to be utterly willing after He makes His move, after He initiates the divine intervention. Your readiness is not the prerequisite. Your willingness to receive and respond is the key. The angels who are surrounding you, who have been assigned to your life in this pivotal season, were not sent because you finally achieved some spiritual milestone or earned some divine favor or performed some extraordinary act. No, they were sent, they were dispatched, because God, in His infinite sovereignty and boundless love, made a unilateral decision about your life. And unilateral carries immense power in this context. It means He did not pause to consult your nagging doubts or your persistent fears. He did not need to check your past record, to weigh your history against your perceived potential and meticulously run the numbers, calculating your worthiness. He did not engage in any earthly form of cost-benefit analysis concerning your past mistakes or perceived shortcomings. Instead, He looked deeply, beyond time and circumstance, at what He Himself placed inside you, that divine spark, that inherent purpose, that unquenchable fire, before the very foundations of the earth were ever laid. He looked at the original blueprint, the masterpiece He designed, and He declared with absolute certainty, "This one is ready," even if in your present human understanding you don't yet know it, even if you still struggle to believe it. His declaration is final, unwavering, and utterly independent of your current self-perception. Now here is the part that begins to shift everything, because we have been talking about what God is doing around you, and what the angels have been assigned to, and why the timing is now. But there is something happening inside you that is equally important, and it is the piece most people skip in their pursuit of external breakthrough. You have been asking God to change your circumstances, but God has been spending this entire season changing you, and not changing you the way a coach corrects technique. Changing you the way fire transforms ore into gold, removing what was never yours to carry, burning away identities that were given to you by people who were themselves afraid of their own greatness, dissolving agreements you made in pain that felt like wisdom at the time but were actually survival mechanisms that have now become cages. In just a moment, a truth will be unveiled, something that has been hidden in plain sight, a foundational agreement that lies at the root of everything, influencing every decision and every perceived limitation in your life. Because here is what very few people will tell you about the complex, often non-linear process of spiritual breakthrough. You can receive the most profound, most undeniable visitation from heaven, experience a genuine, powerful, angelic dispatch, and still, despite all of that divine intervention, not walk fully, completely, into the breathtaking fullness of what was released. Why? Because if you do not actively, consciously, and courageously address what you are still, perhaps unconsciously, in agreement with at the deepest level of your identity, the breakthrough can remain just beyond your grasp, like water in a sieve. You can stand in the immediate aftermath of a genuine angelic encounter, feel the tangible presence of heaven, witness miracles unfold around you, and still inadvertently limit the outcome. This isn't because the angels were insufficient, or their power was curtailed, or God's decree was anything less than absolute. It is because somewhere within the intricate, often unseen architecture of your belief system, the very framework upon which you build your understanding of yourself and the world, there resides a foundational lie. It is a deeply embedded untruth that you have never fully identified, confronted, and evicted from its seat of authority. This isn't a lie you necessarily chose consciously, not a deliberate deception you embraced. No, it is often a lie that was spoken over you so early in life, in moments of vulnerability, and then reinforced so repeatedly through circumstances or relationships that you eventually ceased to question its veracity. It simply became part of your internal operating system, and you began to unconsciously build the very infrastructure of your life, your decisions, your aspirations, and your limitations around its false premises. This insidious lie manifests differently for each unique soul, tailoring its whispers to your specific wounds and vulnerabilities. For some, it resonates like a quiet, resigned sigh. I am simply not the kind of person things ever truly work out for. See, for others, it takes the form of a recurring, painful prophecy. Every time I get close to something genuinely good, something beautiful, something I truly desire, I inevitably lose it. But for many, the lie is even quieter than that, more insidious, more deeply integrated. It doesn't even articulate itself in clear, conscious sentences. Instead, it lives in the subtle, almost imperceptible way you unconsciously pull back, retreat from the precipice of possibility every single time the promised land, the vision of your destiny, comes clearly into view. It lives in the quiet, almost involuntary act of self-sabotage that occurs precisely in the moment right before the breakthrough, the instant before the door swings fully open. It lives in the way you preemptively apologize for your calling, diminish your gifts, or qualify your aspirations before anyone has even had the chance to challenge them. This is the subtle but devastating power of the agreement with a lie. This is precisely the point where the real, profound, and lasting transformation begins. Gideon's story does not end with the winepress, but here is the detail people always miss. When the angel appeared and called Gideon a mighty man of valor, Gideon's first response was not gratitude. It was not humility. His first response was an argument. He said, "If God is with us, why has all this happened to us? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house." Gideon argued vehemently for his own smallness. He presented his entire past history of failure, of insignificance, of oppression, as irrefutable evidence against the angel's earth-shattering declaration of his divine identity. He had so deeply, so thoroughly internalized the identity of the least, of the overlooked, of the one perpetually forced to hide in fear, that the angel's thunderous proclamation sounded to him like a cruel jest, a fundamental case of mistaken identity. He saw his current reality as immutable proof that God had simply gotten it wrong. Does that resonate within the deep chambers of your soul? Does that sound familiar, like an echo of your own internal dialogue? Because that, beloved soul, is precisely what has been unfolding in your spirit this week, perhaps for many weeks or months. Heaven, with its boundless love and unwavering vision, has been speaking something profound, something glorious, something utterly transformative over you, declaring your true identity and your divine assignment. And, in your deeply human, sometimes unconscious response, you have been diligently presenting your own meticulously gathered evidence to the contrary. You have been, in essence, fact-checking God with your own biography, cross-referencing his eternal truth with your temporal experiences, your past wounds, your perceived limitations. And every single time the divine declaration attempts to land, to take root in the fertile soil of your spirit, the foundational lie, that insidious whisper from the enemy, surfaces again, asserting its false authority. It interjects with, "But what about this past failure? But what about what happened last year, the heartbreak, the setback? But what about the recurring pattern of disappointment? But what about the undeniable weight of my history, my lineage, my perceived curses?" It's a relentless spiritual cross-examination, undermining every truth with a past lie. The lie does not announce itself as a lie. It announces itself as realism. It announces itself as wisdom. It says, "I'm just being honest with myself. I'm just trying not to get my hopes up again." But let me challenge you with something that might be the most important thing you hear today. Hope is not a fragile, naive sentiment. It is not a passive wish or a mere optimistic outlook. Hope, in its truest, most potent form, is a formidable spiritual weapon. And every single time you consciously or unconsciously suppress your hope, every instance you lay it down in the name of protecting your heart from the sting of future disappointment, you are not, in fact, being wise or prudent. You are, in a profound spiritual sense, disarming yourself in the very middle of a raging battle. The enemy, the adversary of your soul, does not fear your prayers nearly as much as he fears your hope. For hope is explicitly defined in Scripture as the very evidence of things not yet seen, the substance of what is longed for. It is not mere longing, it is the concrete spiritual evidence. And when that kind of evidence is presented in the spiritual courtroom of heaven, it is absolutely binding. It carries undeniable legal weight. When you carry genuine hope, the hope that springs from faith in God's promises, you are effectively carrying a legal document, a divine writ, that the enemy cannot contest, cannot circumvent, and cannot overturn. It is your title deed to the unseen. But when you, out of fear or discouragement, lay down that hope, when you choose to retract it, you are, in essence, withdrawing your own case from the highest court, conceding defeat before the battle has truly reached its climax. Do not disarm yourself. Cling to hope, for it is your undeniable proof that God's future for you is more real than any past failure. And here is what's coming that will likely shift the foundation of how you see this entire journey. Stay with me just a little longer, because we are now at the place in the message where everything you have heard has to crystallize into one final confrontation. And it is not the confrontation with the enemy. It is not the confrontation with your past. The final confrontation is the one most people never have, because it requires a courage that is rarer than any other kind. It is the confrontation with your own readiness. For so long, you have been faithfully praying for a breakthrough. You have been earnestly asking God, often with tears and fervent pleas, to open the door to your next season, to your next level, to the fulfillment of His promises. But here is the profound, often overlooked truth that has been hidden in plain sight this entire time, like a master key hanging on a wall you've stared at daily. The door is already open. It has been open. It was opened by heaven's decree, secured by Christ's sacrifice, and illuminated by the angels dispatched to lead you through. And the most startling reason you haven't yet fully walked through it, stepped boldly into the expansive new reality that awaits, is not because you lack faith, though faith is essential. It is not primarily because of generational curses that linger, or powerful enemy assignments, or intense spiritual warfare, though all of those realities are very much real and impact our lives. No. The deepest, most persistent reason you have been standing at the threshold, perhaps peering anxiously into the new landscape, is because the very act of walking through an open door, of truly stepping into the unknown future, requires you to consciously, intentionally, irrevocably release your grip on the doorframe. And your grip on that frame, that familiar, stable, albeit confining structure, represents the very last, most tenacious form of control you have been holding on to. Control is not always overt or aggressive. Sometimes control is quiet, subtle, almost imperceptible. Sometimes it manifests as waiting until you possess more information, until every single detail is meticulously laid out and understood, every contingency planned for. Sometimes it looks like endlessly praying for yet another layer of confirmation, even when heaven has already spoken unequivocally, leaving a trail of undeniable signs. Sometimes it looks like a deep-seated desire to be absolutely, perfectly certain, to eliminate every conceivable shred of doubt, before you dare to take the very step that God has already clearly, repeatedly, and patiently told you to take. And here, beloved, is the divine tension, the exquisite paradox that no one truly wants to sit with, because it challenges our deepest human instincts for safety and security. If you choose to wait until you are absolutely certain, you will never, not once, truly walk by faith. Because faith and certainty, in their purest forms, cannot coexist simultaneously within the same single step. The very moment you achieve absolute certainty, the need for faith evaporates, for faith is the currency of the unseen, the conviction of things hoped for. Faith is specifically designed for the uncertain step, for the moment when you do not possess all the answers, when the path ahead is veiled in mist, and yet you step anyway, not because you understand everything, but because you utterly, unreservedly trust the one who does. The angels were dispatched to your situation. The hand is extended. The decree has been written. The enemy's assignment has been cancelled at the level of heaven. All of that is already done. What is now required from you is not more prayer about whether to move. What is required is the movement itself. And here is the part you probably did not expect. The thing that has been blocking you is not the enemy. It is not your past. It is not the people who hurt you, or the doors that closed, or the years that felt wasted. It is the version of yourself that you have been protecting. The smaller version, the one that was built in survival mode, the one that kept you safe when you were not yet strong enough to be seen. That version of you served a purpose, but that version of you was never meant to be permanent. And the angels were not sent to help that version of you get more comfortable. They were sent to pull you by the hand, if necessary, out of the life that version of you built and into the life that heaven designed before that version of you ever existed. The protected self, that deeply ingrained survival identity, has to be surrendered. It does not need to be punished. It does not need to be condemned or shamed for its past service. Rather, it must be surrendered. Surrendered with profound gratitude for what it held together, for the resilience it fostered, for the protection it provided during the long, difficult years when you were not yet strong enough, not yet healed enough to hold yourself together. And then, it must be gently, lovingly released, because you, the authentic, radiant, divinely purposed soul, are no longer that person. You are what God declared you were, what He imprinted on your essence, before anyone hurt you, before any trauma forced you into hiding. You are the potent, world-shifting declaration the angel made over a trembling Gideon, long before Gideon himself possessed a single shred of external evidence to believe it. You are the individual for whom heaven dispatched 2 powerful angels this very week, not because you earned it through flawless performance or perfect piety, but because God, in His infinite grace and sovereign will, decided it. And what God decides, what He decrees into existence, no argument from your past, no whisper of history, no external circumstance can ever hope to overturn. His word is final, His will is sovereign, and His love for you is eternally unconditional. Place your hand on your heart right now and speak this over yourself. Do not rush through it. Let every word land. I release my grip on the frame. I release the smaller version of me that was built in survival. I release every agreement I have made with the lie that I am not the kind of person things work out for. I release the fear disguised as wisdom. I release the hope I abandoned to protect myself from disappointment. I receive the declaration heaven has spoken over my name. I receive the fullness of what the angels were dispatched to accomplish in my life. I receive the identity God assigned before the foundations of the earth were laid. I am not disqualified. I am not delayed by my failure. I am not watching the rescue pass me by. I'm standing at an open door, and I'm choosing to release the frame and walk through it. The captivity ends here. The chapter closes here. I walk forward not because I have all the answers, but because I trust the one who does. I am seen. I am chosen. I am exactly where I am supposed to be. And from this moment forward, I do not linger at the gate. I move with the angels. I move in the mercy that reached down and took me by the hand. And I do not look back. If this message reached you today and something broke open in your spirit, I need you to do something right now. Drop the word angels in the comments below, not as a ritual, as a declaration. As a marker in your own story that says this is the day the captivity ended. And if you have someone in your life who has been carrying this kind of weight this week, someone who has been suspended between the life they have been living and the life they have been promised, send them this message right now, because divine appointments are not always delivered through scrolling. Sometimes they arrive through a friend who was paying attention,